same thing. You work for something for so long and then you finally get it. And it's just like, you're just happy about it. So when I finally got a handstand, I was like, hey, I can do a handstand. And my sister grew up doing gymnastics, and I texted her. I said, hey, I can do a handstand. She said, that's a terrible handstand. I said, I didn't say it was a good one. I just said I could do a handstand.
Found out, hey, your soccer was it? No, your high school football scouting report had you at 5'11".
Oh,
Your
no.
soccer 6 foot. Then I saw your last soccer record at 6'1". So what is like your concert height?
With boots on 6'2", I guess. I'm sure that I grew. Maybe I only played football my freshman year of high school, so I guess I grew the last 3 years. I don't know. I didn't even know that was still on the internet.
Oh, it's still there. So what was your first passion? Was it football? Was it soccer? Was it music?
I don't know. I played like every sport growing up as a kid, and then when I got to middle school, it was soccer really. I mean, and I played soccer all throughout high school, played travel soccer. Thought I wanted to do college soccer, and then I saw that you had to get up at 5:30 every morning and work out and then go to class and go to study hall and keep a GPA, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And so I just I gave it up, but I love soccer. That was my thing.
Well, what, you were a goalie in high school, or
Goalie. Mm-hmm.
what were some of your stats?
Well, I mean, I got all state my senior year and then all region sophomore, junior, senior year. I think I have a bunch of like records, like saves in a career. The team wasn't that great. I'm not gonna lie to you. We weren't great. So I worked real hard, back there. But I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was great. I loved like soccer because it's such a chess match. I know a lot of people think you're just kicking a ball, but I mean, and you are, but there's so much that goes into it. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. That was probably my favorite thing to do, was just like sit back playing goalie and just kind of going, all right, well, like, where is this going to go? What are we going to do here? So I loved it. It was great. But it just kind of got to the point that I was like, I'm not going to do it in college.
Now, deeper dive, also found out you had a 6:30. Was a 6-minute 38 mile. Were you also a runner as well, or?
I guess, well, I ran cross country junior and senior year. I think my quickest mile was 5:40. But I don't know where that clocked in. But yeah, 5:40, I think, was my quickest mile. Our team was pretty good. We got third place at state both years that I ran. I wasn't great. I was more of a pusher. I was kind of there to like pick off a couple guys at the end, but my strength was definitely not running quick. It was just kind of like, throughout the race, just like keeping the same pace and then do a little sprint the last half mile and pick off some people. That was definitely what I was there to do. But yeah, I still like to run, but I cannot run a 5:40 mile right now to save my life.
As far as when you went to Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the whole football scene like there? You were there for the championship run?
Oh yeah, I was there. It was fun. I mean, it was great. I'm friends with some of the guys that were on the team and still on the team now. So I hang out with them a good bit when I'm back in Athens. But it was really cool to like watch that because, I grew up, my mom was a Georgia fan, my dad was an Auburn fan. So I kind of grew up like going, to both games and watching, everything. And, Georgia fans just kind of were always like, all right, we're on like a 40-year drought. And then finally to break it while we were there was super cool. But we go to the games every Saturday. And it was like, when you do football at a SEC school, that's a way of life down there. I mean, it is like people are going to put like, when our parents come to town, was there a home game? Well, no, you can't come this weekend. You have to come this weekend. It was very like, we would sit down and look at our schedules and kind of figure out how we wanted to go about, going to those games and watching. And it was just so much fun. And the atmosphere at Georgia it's still great, but it was really great, during those years that they won back-to-back championships. But I have a little sister that just finished her freshman year at Georgia, so I go back a good bit and watch games.
Did you have any chances of playing soccer for them, or
they had a club team? They didn't have like a varsity like through the school. But I actually had a buddy I played high school soccer with that played club soccer at Georgia for 2 years, I think. But yeah, I mean, they have a cool like club intramural league, but they didn't have like Division I soccer per se. But the girls soccer team actually did, and they did. I think they won the SEC championship this past year. They did something. I mean, like they made a nice little run into the NCAA tournament. But yeah, soccer's my thing. I had roommates, all my roommates in college played soccer. So we get up every morning at like 6 o'clock on Saturdays and watch the Premier League and like keep up with like standings. And we all had our teams, that we cheered for. But it was cool. I loved it. And I mean, growing up, in Georgia, kind of in the South, like it's not as predominant where I was at, but because we would have to like go to Atlanta to play, which was fine. But yeah, I mean, it was a big thing. Like I really loved it, but it wasn't huge where I was at. It was more baseball, football in Middle Georgia, but we played. I mean, we loved it, and me and some of my friends played club, and we would just kind of go all over the place playing soccer.
Did you get caught up in the whole Messi mania when when it got here last year?
No, I really didn't. I haven't. I've done a bad job keeping up with MLS the past, probably a year or two, just like being on the road and touring and everything. I keep up with the standings and like I've got my team. Obviously, being from Nashville, like I'm a Nashville or living in Nashville now. I'm a Nashville SC fan. I'm a Man City fan, so I can say four Premier League championships in a row yesterday. So I keep up with it, but I used to like really keep up with soccer. I don't as much as I did, but I love it. It's still my favorite sport to play. And because it's like a worldwide sport. I mean, you can go anywhere in the world and people know what soccer is.
Now, how'd you stay in shape back in high school for? Just to get to go see what the workouts like.
Yeah, I mean, we did a bunch of, I mean, for me, it was a lot because I was goalie. So it was a lot of like body weight exercises. I mean, because that's kind of the thing. Like you have to be real quick because, I mean, you have to cover, for one, you have to cover an 8x24 goal. And then also you have you have your penalty box that you have to kind of command. So like it's a lot of like very quick movements. And then the other thing was just body weight stuff because if you throw yourself on the ground, it's like how quickly can you get up? That and then just a bunch of like stuff that we would do with like our wrist, because like you want to catch every ball that comes your way because you're the only person on the field that can use their hands. So lots of that, and then lots of leg workouts. I mean, just like with me, it was just like lots of squats and lots of things that we were going to do to kind of keep my leg strength up because I had to kick the ball, I had to punt the ball. But also that's such a technical thing. I think people think like when you take a goal kick as a goalie, you want to kick the ball as hard as you can. And that's not necessarily the thing. Like it's very technical how you want to hit the ball to kind of have it lift and to go as far as possible. My one fun fact I will say about playing high school soccer is I, as a goalie, scored a goal in one game, which was insane. I kicked the ball. It was a shorter field, but I kicked the ball from goal kick, and it went pretty far, and it hit the ground one time and bounced over the other keeper, and I scored a goal. So I guess that's my fun fact from playing high school soccer.
Is that documented on video yet, or?
I think it is on a video somewhere on tape. I don't know. I'll need to call somebody and get it and send it to you because it was very cool. And I didn't think I'd scored because I thought that somebody else had touched it. And they're like, no, it's your goal. And I was like, and it's the one game that my parents didn't come to when I was in high school because it was like a 4-hour drive away. And they're like, no, we're not going to go to this one. And so I looked at my coach. I said, call my mom and tell her I scored. And my mom thought it was a joke. And I was like, no, it's real. I actually scored.
Well, I did see your video the other day on your field goal post.
Mm-hmm.
You ever have any place kicker dreams or any?
No, I didn't. That always scared me. I mean, like, and I say scared me, like it scares me now watching, guys try to kick field goals. Cause I'm like, you could mess this up, like it very easily. I've seen professionals miss. I mean, like especially in the NFL now that they've moved the PAT back. It's like I see a couple guys like a week miss, those field goals, and you're trying to hit such a small target. And so I don't know. I never wanted to do that. And I also always, would sit there because they did ask me one year, like, oh, have you ever thought about like kicking field goals? And I'm like, knowing my luck, we would get to the state championship and it would come down to a field goal and I would miss it. I was like, so I think I'm good. I don't think I could live with myself if I did that. So I never wanted to.
So last football question I do have is, if country music did have a flag football team, who would you rather get fade routes from? Would it be Sam Hunt or Riley Green? Since they both were college quarterbacks.
Riley Green for sure.
Well, you hit that really quickly. How?
Yeah, I think Riley. I mean, I don't know. Sam is from Georgia, so maybe we have a connection there. I don't know, but I would probably say Riley.
Would you still hit the gym a lot now, or?
I try to. When I'm off the road, it's a lot easier because like I have the gym that I go to, and I have the coaches there and the trainers there. But whenever I'm on the road, especially like when you're touring like heavily and it's like, all right, you're going to leave the house on Wednesday at midnight and you're going to be gone until Sunday. It's real easy to be like, all right, well then Monday, morning, I'm going to hit the gym. Wednesday, I'm going to hit the gym. And then, when you get on the bus, we keep like weights on the bus and we get sent like workouts and it's like, hey, do this. So it's easy because it's like, hey, here's the thing. And the other great thing about it is, if you're out and there's a hotel, there's a hotel gym that isn't great. It's like, hey, here's what I have to work with. Or if it's a hotel gym that's nice, or if like, you go to a Planet Fitness or something, it's like, well, here's what we can, work with. And then the coaches that train me, they're like, well, this is what you should do. So we try to, and usually, I mean, the thing about the road is there's a lot of downtime. I mean, it's like you kind of get in, you wake up, you load in sound check and you have a little bit of time. So it's real easy. I mean, and it may not be every day like an hour long workout, and you may not be, lifting heavy weights, but it's like, hey, for 30 minutes, just go move. And I think that's the key, to the thing, staying healthy on the road, staying active is just like, just make it, even if it's a 30-minute run or something like that, that's what I try to do whenever we're out there, just because it just makes you feel better, to be honest with you.
What is your training based on right now, like these days?
Right now, lots of like cardio, just because I'm like trying to get in shape for the summer. Outside of that, that's kind of it. Like I said, because it's so hard, I think, to build a plan around, okay, well, here's a 4-week plan. You're in the gym. We're going to try to do this for these 4 weeks. And it's like, oh, well, we have shows these days, so I have to miss this. Oh, actually, I had a meeting come up in the morning. I can't make it to this. And so I think it's a lot of just like full body stuff too. That's what I did this morning, full body workout, just because, it's like, all right, well, if you can come again this week, we'll do another thing, or we'll kind of shift. And that's the nice thing about like having the guys. I go to a gym called Iron Tribe in Nashville, and I have some great coaches there, CJ and Joshua and James, and they're like for me, they're like, hey, we understand, that you don't live at home all the time. And so we adapt a lot to, things that we do in the gym. So that's nice, to have something like that where you're also not, sitting there and it's like, all right, well, I've been doing the same thing for like 6 months that was supposed to take 1 month because I haven't been home or whatever it is. So that's nice. I mean, to have those guys that kind of do that with me.
Well, what does a performer need now more as far as a workout than an athlete? What do you like, emphasize more on when it comes to
Yeah,
stage?
I mean, I definitely think cardio. I mean, because you're, constantly like moving around the stage, whether that's for, or you're honestly, first you're singing. I mean, you're taking lots of breaths, to sing and to hit notes and to do the thing. I think the other thing is stamina, because, you do have to, some of these shows you are playing an hour and a half. And now, we're in the dead of summer, and we're not quite yet, but we're getting close to it. And it's like, you've got, like, the other night we played in Florida, and it was hot and it was humid. And so it's like, all right, well, thankfully, I have the stamina to stay on the stage. Also, like what you put in your body, what you eat, what you drink, the whole thing, staying hydrated, because I mean, we were playing the show and there were people that were passing out in the crowd, and so it's like it's just hot. It's just hot, it's humid, the whole thing. And so I think like just focusing on your stamina and then cardio, that whole thing. I mean, I know it's like, some people lift weights because, they look good, the whole thing, but that's not really my arms aren't huge, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I enjoy just like just feeling strong, like feeling, on stage, like, hey, I can take these breaths and I can sing and I have stamina to stay up here. Then that's great.
Are you based in Nashville now?
I am. I moved to Nashville about a year and a half ago from Georgia, like right when I graduated. So I've been up here for about a year and a half.
Did you train with any of the athletes out there, like the Titans or?
I have not. I actually have not trained with anybody up here. I don't know if I know a ton of athletes that live in Nashville. I've got some buddies that I like went to high school with that play, college baseball. I actually have a buddy that I went to high school with. He played 4 years for the Browns. Now he plays for the Las Vegas Raiders, Harrison Bryant. He was a senior when I was a freshman. I was his backup tight end, which may have been the reason that I only played football for a year in high school, because I was like, I don't know if I want to keep getting hit by this guy that's going to go to the NFL. But we're buddies, and the way that they train is just insane. I mean, it's all day, every day for some of those guys.
So what is the day in the life of Logan Crosby like? What?
I guess it depends on, the day and where we're at. But when I'm home, usually get up 6:45, go to the gym 7:30 to 8:30, and then come home, eat, take a shower, and then in the office try to be in the office around 10. Usually I have a write. We usually write in Nashville about 11. So before that, meetings, whatever, kind of get told about stuff coming up, just whatever it is. And then, write from 11 to 3-ish, somewhere in there. Sometimes it's sooner. You get done sooner, sometimes it's later, and then go home, go eat, and then usually watch some bad TV on the couch and go to bed. I mean, that's really, it's not, I feel like it's not as glamorous as some people think, but I love it. But then, I mean, when you're out on the road, I mean, the other day, I guess it was Friday, we had to get up at 4:45 to get on a plane and fly to Florida, play a show, and then got to the hotel at like 1 in the morning, and then woke up at 4:30 on Saturday to fly back to Nashville. So, I mean, it changes every single day. But, whenever I'm home, I try to keep a routine because it just feels good. I mean, it feels good to wake up, have a routine, and be able to kind of go, all right, well, there's some normalcy, today. And that's great.
Well, what's your definition of bad TV?
Bad TV. Oh, I feel like just reruns. I mean, it's not even like bad. Like The Office is a great show, but I've watched that show probably 4 times, 3 times at this point, or reality TV. Big fan of that. YouTube videos, just kind of sit on the couch and just something you don't have to think about a whole lot. You're just like, well, there's no plot to this episode. There's no plot to this season. I'm just going to watch whatever, scroll TikTok, get on Facebook, do the whole thing.
Now, do you post your own workouts? Do you videotape yourself in the gym or?
I don't personally, but my coaches and trainers do. And there's actually one on my Instagram now from this morning that we went and they filmed some of the workout. And so I don't film it, but they do. And I enjoy sharing it. Usually it's something I've done funny in the gym. I'm not very coordinated. I have small feet. So, there's sometimes I look like an idiot in the gym and I'm like, hey, videotape that and post it because that'll probably do better than if it was a serious workout. But yeah, they film some of the stuff, but it's also good, like, because they'll send me videos and you kind of know, like, okay, well, this is how you do it. I finally learned how to do a handstand uh, with the wall, but it took me a while to like kick myself up there. So they just kept like videoing it and they'd send it to me and be like, well, this is what you're doing wrong. And you watch it. And then eventually I learned how to do it. And so that is my one thing I'll tell people. I'm like, hey man, I can do, if you give me a wall with no pictures on it, I can do a handstand.
But what was your progressions to that? How'd you end up doing that from start to finish?
Uh, well, first one of the coaches just honestly picked me up by my legs and I just kind of hung there and then put my arms down and then lots of put like push-ups. I don't really know. I was on like a bench and then I was just kind of like facing down and then just kind of like doing push-ups and like that way. I mean, they were assisted, but it's like kind of get your shoulder strength and then like slowly learning how to kick up. And then, there's one video that I kicked up. Your feet are supposed to be like this, but my feet were like this, but it was like, hey, at least you're up there. And then, slowly like was able to like bring my feet in. And it's just like doing it and falling and kind of busting your ass a couple times. And then you're like, oh, I get it now. But yeah, finally learned how to do that after a couple months.
So when you first did that, what was more exciting for you? Getting the handstand or actually hearing your song on the radio, which I saw also on Instagram?
Uh, I think it was probably the same level of excitement. I mean, to be honest with you, it was now song on the radio. There's nothing that beats that. But yeah, but it's like, same thing. You work for something for so long and then you finally get it. And it's just like, you're just happy about it. So when I finally got a handstand, I was like, hey, I can do a handstand. And my sister grew up doing gymnastics and I texted her, I said, hey, I can do a handstand. She said, that's a terrible handstand. I said, I didn't say it was a good one. I just said I could do a handstand.
When you did hear that, did you know it was coming on the radio or is that just totally just by accident that you just had to tune in at this right time?
So I actually got a text and it was like, hey, 2019 is going to be on the highway. And I was just kind of like lost it. I was like freaking out and it was like, this is great, And I don't know, I honestly don't know what goes into, that if it's like a thing where, obviously I don't have a record deal right now, which is totally fine. But obviously like, to get songs on the radio, need a record deal. But with that, the highway and, they're kind of trying to like find up and coming artists and put them on, that hour on that show. And so that was just really great to, like I said, get that text message that was going to be on the radio. It was super cool. First time I listened to it was on an airplane. I actually had to go and get like the Wi-Fi on my flight and then go pull up the Sirius XM app and listen in, which that was really cool. So, because some people I feel like, oh, the first time you heard yourself on the radio, you were driving around or you went and got in your car. And I was like, no, I was in an airplane. I was in an airplane whenever I heard myself on the radio for the first time. So that was super cool, super funny, but super cool. But yeah, it's super awesome to hear yourself on the radio. I mean, because like, as a kid, you dream of doing that. And it's like, okay, well, this is really cool. I get to live my dream every day.
You get to expense the Wi-Fi on?
Oh, for sure. It was definitely a business expense. 100%. That was a write-off for sure.
So what are the challenges now as being an independent artist? This one.
I don't know. I mean, obviously there's, without a record label, I think, sometimes it's like, I guess the one obvious thing is money. Because you don't have, labels, like, hey, here's money, here's marketing, budgets, and here's radio promo budgets. But outside of that, I don't think there's a downside to being an independent artist, especially this day and age, because, the way that we work here, with with what what we do and what we build is like, I've got my manager who's also my publisher, and my producer is a songwriter and publisher. And we kind of hear a song that, we wrote, and we go, well, this is good. And we go, well, let's just go cut it tomorrow. I mean, there was a song that's actually coming out on my record, and I'm sure we'll talk about the record later, but probably my favorite song on the album. The whole record had been recorded, and we wrote that song on a Thursday. And we said, well, this needs to go on the album. And so the next Monday, we went to the studio that Jonathan Singleton, my producer, has at his house, and we went and cut the song. And that's something that I don't feel like, you get as an artist that may have a record deal. So that's really cool that we get to do that. And, just I feel like there's lots of great things about it, because nowadays the cool thing about having social media, having whatever it is that you use, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you can go directly to your fans, which is super cool. And for the longest time, like, I don't know why, but I didn't want to. I don't know why I didn't want to go directly to my fans. But once I started talking to them and asking, hey, what do y'all think about this song? I mean, you can literally take a demo and post it on social media and go, do y'all like this one better? And then the next day post another one and go, or do you like this one better? And they'll tell you, and you can talk to them. They're right there to talk to, you know what I mean, to interact with. And so that's a great thing, as an independent artist. And you can just go, oh, well, they like this one better. We're just going to go cut this one, and maybe not have a label go, well, that's not the right one that we want to push. And like I said, I don't see a downside in this day and age of being an independent artist. You can be super successful doing it. You don't have to have a record deal anymore to put out music. You can put out music, that's why there's kids that are making, music in their bedrooms in their hometown, and they're becoming massive artists, because you can do that now independently, the way that the format's changed. So that's a great thing, so I love being an independent artist. It's great.
Would you take criticism well, in the sense that for 100,000 people who love your song on Instagram, keep it going, million others like, there might 2 or 3 or 4 people say, that's like, I don't like that. Does that eat at you a little bit? Do you sit there and say, well, why don't they like it? Or you just like brush it off and say, hey?
I think, at first it was, you ask, well, why not? And then you kind of start to play the great thing that, like, I've been super lucky that I've been able to do the past years, like tour with, Cameron Marlowe, Megan Maroney, play shows kind of all across the country and meet fans, like, and also make new fans. And so I get to see them every night, and I get to go, well, these are the people that listen to the music, and then they come to the shows, and I'm like, well, let's just make music for them, and it's not everybody's going to like everything. I mean, even the biggest and most loved artists in the world, people don't like their music. So it doesn't bother me, as much. Obviously, you want everybody to love your music, because you pour your heart and your soul into it, and, you pour a lot of time into it, and you want people to love it. But there's people out there that don't, and it's just, hey, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. It is what it is. I don't like everything that I hear. And I feel like everybody's kind of like that, and we all have our preferences. So it doesn't really bother me a whole lot. It's just, I know who my fans are and what they want to hear. And it's like, well, let's just make music. Let's just make music that we can all listen to.
Well, what is the songwriting process like for you when you wrote this album? Like, how long does it take? And like, what is it? Are you collaborate with a bunch of people? Do you do it yourself? How does that all work?
I write, with all kinds of different people. It's, kind of once I like got into town and started writing and kind of developed the sound and what I wanted to say as an artist, I found the people that I like are really, the guys that I write with. Rob Pennington is somebody that he's got, I think, the most cuts on my record. He's a guy that he's a Georgia boy, but we write a lot of songs together, and Jonathan Singleton and Ben Williams. And so it's like you kind of start to write with this, a group, and you go, okay, well, these are great songs, and they know what the sound is, and they know what I want to say. And so get lots of stuff with them. But when I wrote the record, I don't think I sat down and went, hey, I'm going to write an album, today. I put out the EP that I put out last year, which is great. And after that, obviously, comes an album. But there wasn't like a day that we all sat down and went, okay, so we're going to start today writing the record. We just kind of started finding songs that we had written that I really liked. And it was like, all right, well, that can go, that's good enough to, be on the record, and that's good enough to be on the record. And then wrote a bunch of the songs for the album within like a month, because I kind of knew like what I wanted the album to say and what I wanted it to be. So wrote a lot of great stuff during that time, and then thought I had the record done. like written, and then came in at the top of this year and then listened back down to it. And, I think we all kind of listened and were like, well, maybe it's not quite done yet. And then my manager, Tally, was like, hey, we need one or two more songs that feel a little younger and feel a little more upbeat. And we went in and we wrote those. And then at that point, we had written the record, and then we recorded it. And there's one more song that we wrote kind of after it was all recorded that we ended up putting on there. But yeah, I think it was a thing where we knew we wanted to make a record, but I don't think you sit down, you wake up and go, okay, today I'm going to start writing my first record. I think it just kind of starts to happen, which I think is the right way to do it. You just want to write those songs, and then the best ones. A good song's a good song. It's going to stand the test of time. So that was, kind of the thing that we found out, about some of these is just, all right, well, we're pulling songs that we may have written a little earlier last year, and then some of the songs we actually wrote at the top of this year. And, if it fits the project, it fits the project, and they all do. So really happy about, the record. I think it's great. Hopefully I would think it's great, but I love it. And it tells the story that I wanted to tell.
And what's the name of it?
It's called, the record's called 2019.
Okay.
Which is the name of the single that's on the radio right now. But it tells my story from 2019 until now, because 2019 is the year I graduated high school, and then went to college. And that's great. I grew up in a hometown of 17,000 people, and so I moved from there to, actually I went to school in Atlanta before I transferred to UGA. And so you go from a town with 17,000 people to a college with 45,000 people, and you go, oh my God, there's a lot of people in the world. And you start to live, and you start to like see things and experience things, and get a fake ID, and start sneaking into bars and doing the whole thing. And then moved to a different college and fell in love for the first time, fell out of love, went on a TV show, kind of did all kinds of stuff, and then moved to town and spent the last year of my life on tour. And so all that stuff's been great, but I just kind of wanted to take all of those things and put it into a record. And so that's what we did.
You brought up a point before when you said, what was it you said? You said the album wasn't quite complete at one point.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know when your song is done? Do you ever oftentimes overthink something when you look at a song? Oh, it's good. Then think back, you know what? Maybe I should change this lyric. And 3 months later, you're still playing with the words a little bit.
For sure. And I think that's like what we do as songwriters, is we overthink. I was just talking about that in the write that I had today. It was like, well, that's our job though, to sit there and look at the words and go, does it make sense? Does this one line that we put in the first verse and then what we say in the bridge, does it all make sense? Like we're supposed to overanalyze it. But, I think the more that you do it, you just kind of get comfortable in like what you said. And a lot of times it's just kind of, honestly, I know the phrases go with your gut. And I think the more that you write songs and the more that you do the thing, go with your gut. And so that's what we started doing. But yeah, I mean, we definitely kind of looked at the songs, and I don't know if it's over analyzing it as much as it is like, okay, you're putting out your debut record. You want it to be perfect. I mean, you just want it to be perfect. And so the more we listened down to it, there were just things, it was like, maybe that's not the right song. Maybe that doesn't say the right thing, which is totally fine. And I think that's the cool thing that we were able to do, is kind of had the record, at first. And, nobody ever told me, hey, it's not done, or it's not right. It was just like, hey, just keep writing and keep writing. And we just kept writing. And then we would outwrite ourselves on some of the songs. And then finally sat down, listened through, and we're like, okay, this is an album. And so that's kind of how it worked for me, which is nice. Another thing, about being an independent artist is, I didn't have a label that was like, hey, you have to have the entire record mixed, mastered, all the promo, all the shots, the whole packages, it's got to be turned in by this date, which that's nice to be able to kind of work at your own pace when you're making something like that. Because like you said, there may be a song, or there may be a way that you sang something that you listen to, and then you listen back a month later and you go, I didn't do that right. And then you can go in and change it, which that's super nice. I love that, that part of being an independent artist.
Is there any song that comes to mind?
For me, I'm trying to think. There may not be. Just because like we lived with them for so long, I'm trying to think. I don't know, there may be one or two little lyric changes that we did, but I don't know, I'd have to go back and look. But or also just like having on the music side, like the way that something, is played in the studio, and, you don't love it, well, you just go overdub it, at a producer's house or whatever that is. And that happened a couple times for this record. There is one song, totally forgot about this one. It's called I Don't But I Do. And it started out as like kind of like a ballady thing. And then we went in and cut it, and there were like lots of guitars on it, and it was like a very like like hefty song, I guess you would say, like drums and synths and all kinds of stuff. And we like sat with it for a month, and we are like, I don't think this is right. And we started just taking things off of it. We'll take that guitar out and take this out and crank the bass down a little bit, and until there was almost nothing on it. And then we went and cut it as a piano ballad, and that's what it ended up being. It's a piano ballad. It's my vocal and a piano on the record. So songs like that, where you get to live with it for a while and you go, oh well, that's not right, and then you find what's right and you go, okay, well, this feels right. We all kind of heard it, my producers and me and my manager, and we were like, yeah, that's what that song's supposed to be. So that's one of those things where it took some time, and that was cool.
I've asked this question to a few other people or a few other artists, and they about, I guess, the early days. Before success, they struggled starting out in local clubs, whatever it was. I mean, do you see it as you're starting out now? Do you see it as a struggle, or is this all just really a lot of fun for you at the moment?
I don't know if I've ever seen it as a struggle, because I love it so much, and this is what I've always wanted to do. There's definitely parts of the music making process and the touring process and the whole thing that is harder than other things that you have to do. But I don't know if I ever saw it as a struggle. I mean, I think they're all lessons. You have a bad show, and you go, okay, well, like, how do we learn from this? What did we learn from this show that was bad? Or you know you write a song that you think's great and other people don't, and you go, okay, well, like, how do I get better at writing songs? And so I don't think I've ever seen it as a struggle, but there's definitely things that are harder than others, when you're coming up and you're starting to make music and do the thing. And I remember playing like bars and clubs in college, and there were 5, 6 people there, which the fact that people would show up at all in those days, I was like, oh, I have a fan. That's insane. So like, that's crazy. And then the shows get bigger, and then you start writing songs, and then you start posting songs on. I started just posting original music on TikTok, and all that stuff's kind of what happened. And so for me, I've never looked at it, I guess, as a struggle, just because I always just love what I was doing. And I don't think it's a struggle at all when you get paid, to do something that you would do for free. So that's kind of how I've always looked at it. But definitely harder things, in this business than other things.
Well, have you got any advice from your cousin that maybe is playing out right now?
I think the one thing he told me is just like, be yourself. Just, the only songs that I know how to write are, my songs and my life and my truth. And that's kind of what he's always said. He's like, just be yourself. And he's like, don't let anybody change you. Which, he's always been that way. I mean, Jason had a couple record deals when he moved to town and got dropped from them, because they didn't get it, or people wouldn't sign them because they didn't understand it. They didn't get how you could take like heavy rock music and country music and kind of bring them together. And he's had a 20-year super successful career because of that. But I think the biggest thing that he does for me is just like kind of answers the phone when I call him. And he's given me advice, or I've sent him songs, and I'm like, what do you think about this song? And he's like, I love that. And there's other songs that he's like, I don't think that's great, but I mean, we all have different tastes in music. So those are the things that he's kind of done for me, which has been awesome.
No, it's claim to fame helped you out in any way, at least boosting your presence?
I think for sure. I mean, I was already playing, bars and clubs in Georgia and writing songs. And I knew that I was going to move to Nashville after I graduated. And then that show came out, right. It was actually on air when I was still in college, like finishing up my last couple credits. And then I was able to move to town. And from that, like, you get on a show that is as successful as Claim to Fame. And, I went on the show and I was like, hey, if I can just get, one person to hear me sing that believes in what I'm doing, then it's a win. And I think I got a lot more people than that. But from that, like, I was able to get an agent, and I was able to, move to town and start writing and meeting different people in town. And then through that, like, got my publishing deal, and through being friends with Megan Maroney, was able to go on tour with her. And so all those things, definitely worked out, but Claim to Fame was great. It was a great, springboard for me. Ask somebody that, I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to use this as a way to get in front of people. And it's a great show. I'm so glad it got renewed for a third season. Like, I'm going to be watching as soon as it comes out, but it was a great show for me, and I loved every minute of it.
With that, with reality shows, with traveling, touring, songwriting, when do you find the time to eat? And how is your nutrition affected by just the constant schedule and the constant?
That's funny. That's funny. I get told all the time I don't eat enough. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's finding, like easy, quick meals to make. I love a protein shake or like a core power, what, just like a thing that you can muscle milk, a thing you can eat on the go. I love a protein bar. I usually eat one like big meal at night just because like I wake up and I work out and then like I don't like to eat like right after I work out. I know you're supposed to, but I'll drink like a protein shake and then like eat some oatmeal with like some peanut butter in it and then kind of at the end of the night, like go get, something. And it's always kind of the same thing. Like my meals are like rice, vegetables, chicken, fish, something like that, just because it's easy and I like to eat that stuff. It tastes good to me. And there's like a lot of protein and carbs in it. You're kind of hitting every food group at one time. So I do that as much as possible. And then when I'm back home for like a long period of time, there's a couple different places in Nashville that do like, ready to go like meals, and you can kind of, make them higher in protein or higher in carbs or whatever it is, whatever you're doing in the gym, and keep those in the freezer and warm those up and eat those and go. But yeah, and then I mean, I won't lie to you, there's a couple nights that it's late, you've played a show, it's hot, you've done a meet and greet, and you go, I don't know, like a McDonald's, sounds good right now. And every once in a while you'll stop and that or like a Taco Bell. You gotta splurge every once in a while. You just do.
I was going to ask, what do you have? What would you rather prefer, fast food or like a fine dining?
Oh, probably fast food. I'll be honest with you. Like, I mean, I enjoy fine dining, but love a fast food. I'm, lucky and blessed that I get to have, a good mix of both, and have people in Nashville that take care of me, and they're like, hey, we know that you like a home cooked meal. Come to the house and let's eat dinner. So that's great too, because I'm not a great cook. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not a good cook. Never have been. I don't know why. My mom's a great cook. My dad's a great cook. My sister's a great cook. Everybody in my family. I just didn't get that talent at all. I'm just not. I'm not a good cook. I'm the guy that if we're doing a house party or a dinner party, I'm like, all right, so what wine does everybody want to drink? I'll bring the wine over, and somebody else will cook. I'm just not the best cook, but maybe one day I'll learn. If I ever get, time, I'll do a cooking class just to figure out, how to cook a little bit.
So Logan Crosby cookbook's not going to be
I don't think that's in the work unless it's just me on the cover and then all my friends and family, putting their recipes in there.
So you don't do any grilling, nothing like that, or
No, I don't. And I live in an apartment complex, so I don't have like a grill. I don't have anything, one day maybe, but I do have, I got a stove and a microwave and all that stuff. But yeah, not a, I don't grill, but my dad's he's a grill master. My dad used to be on like grill teams and stuff, so he's great. And my parents are always good, like when they come to town, like they're like, hey, here's stuff. Like this is how you cook it. And I'm like, all right, cool. But yeah, not the best cook in the world. I'm just not. I mean, it's funny because like I like stuff a little crispy, a little burnt, anyways, which is great when I cook because it's gonna be burnt. So it's just that's just one of those things for me. Not the best
what you
cook.
do have is what's in store for you for the summer now of 2024?
Heck yeah. So we're on tour with Mega Maroney until the towards the end of July, and then lots of festivals this summer. CMA Fest coming up, Carolina Country Music Fest. We're playing with the Jonas Brothers at Calgary Stampede, opening for them up in Canada, and then like I said with Megan, and then towards the end of the summer, we're going to do a headlining tour. I guess early fall, we're going to do a headlining tour for me in the Southeast, which will be a lot of fun, and then put out my album around that. So lots of stuff, putting out lots of singles throughout the summer. Just every 4 to 6 weeks, just like here's a new single off the album. So all that stuff's coming out all throughout the summer, but it's gonna be a fun summer. I'm excited for it. It's already been a fun year. We've been rolling since January. We got on the road with Cameron Marlowe January 16th or 17th is when we started touring. We've been out almost every weekend since then, and it's been fun. It's been great. I love to tour. I love to see my fans and to meet them and to get to sing with them, and it's great. So I'm excited for the rest of this year. What we're